Joining us now for some analysis on that, the University of Sydney's Tom Switzer, a research associate at the United States Study Centre.
Okay.
Tom, first of all, if we can start with the debate we saw last week between the two candidates, a clear win for Romney. Tell us, what has that done to him in terms of the opinion polls and what sentiment has changed?
Well, first of all, it shows that the former British Prime Minister Harold Wilson was right when he said a week is a long time in politics. And of course, his predecessor, Harold Macmillan, famously said that the best way of understanding how a political climate can change is events, dear boy, events. And of course, this was the big event, the debate. A week ago, Romney was leading convincingly in the polls, especially in those battleground states that really determine the outcome of this national election. Now, as you say, it's pretty much neck and neck in those battleground states. And nationally, Romney's leading by 4 points, according to the Pew survey. All came down to the debate. The conventional wisdom among Liberals and Conservatives, Republicans and even Democrats, is that Romney gave Obama such a hiding that you'd almost half expect the referee to come in halfway through to call the bout off on grounds of compassion.
What do you think went wrong for Obama there? I mean, he went into it, they're both talking up to it, like to try and position themselves as not the favourite, but Obama wasn't he?
Yes, I think that a rule in debates is that low expectations are often a priceless political asset, and so Romney went in there having been subjected to this vicious, nasty attack ads that he was Mr. Monopoly Man without the cane and the top hat, who was going to be the sort of a Gordon Gekko venture capitalist who would protect the rich at the expense of the middle class. And as Charles Krauthammer, the columnist from the Washington Post, pointed out, all he really had to do was go onto the stage without any horns and he'd look respectable. And look, he was very good. He went on the front foot, he was articulate, he did his research, he was sound in style and in substance, whereas Barack Obama clearly was not prepared. He was not match fitness. Remember, Mitt Romney had all those debate preparations, probably about 20 debates during the Republican primaries a year ago. Barack Obama hasn't weathered this kind of scrutiny since he ran against Hillary Clinton and then John McCain in 2008. So he was rusty, and it showed.
In terms of the traders we speak to every morning in the United States, most of them suggest that a Romney win would be a win for the markets. Now, can you tell us why they would think this way? Because some of them seem to suggest it's just the simple fact that he'd be more able to deal with the fiscal cliff situation we're seeing there right now.
In some respects, that criticism is a bit disingenuous because the fiscal cliff issue has to be resolved before December 31. And we only have a 6-week period between the election in the first week of November and, of course, the last week of December to have it resolved. We still have President Obama in the White House and we'll still have a Republican House of Representatives and a Democrat Senate. So that will have to be resolved during that tenure. And it's not altogether clear how the President or the Democrats in the Senate will play it. At this stage, a bill has gone through the House of Representatives which will guarantee the renewal of the Bush-era tax reductions, which means there would not be a tax increase on December 31. But if the Democrats play hardball, then it's quite likely that there will be a tax increase, which is more than likely to send the American economy into a double-dip recession.
A lot of institutional investors are now telling us they're more worried about this fiscal cliff situation in the United States than they are about what we're seeing in Europe. That's how concerned they are about it. And most suggest, look, we think they're going to let us get right up to the cliff and then pull back and bond a solution right before the deadline. But even then, that's going to give us so much uncertainty for the markets, which they, of course, hate, which will mean a really, really rocky ride. Is that your thought, that it will be resolved, but at the last minute?
Quite conceivably, I think the benchmark here is the deliberations in the Congress in July, August of last year over the debt ceiling. And that came right down to the brink of the Americans defaulting on their debt. But there was a last-minute deal that averted that crisis. I think there is various schools of thought on this question. You may recall the Treasurer Wayne Swan weighed into the American debate only a fortnight ago when he said that the biggest risk to the biggest economy were the cranks and crazies in the Republican Party. But he forgot to realise that there are about 20 Democrats in the House of Representatives who support the cranks and crazies in the Republican Party on the issue of tax relief and want to renew all those Bush-era tax reductions that are set to expire by the end of the year. So my sense is that the Democrats will probably compromise on this, and whoever's president, Obama will still be president, he'll probably sign it into law. But the other thing to bear in mind is that the Democrats have to recognise that there are two fiscal cliffs. It's not just a question of the tax rates the Bush-era tax reductions being expired at the end of the year, it's also the question of the spending cuts. There are about $1.2 trillion in defence and domestic discretionary spending that are supposed to be cut. It's over a decade. It's part of the debt reduction deal last year. If the Democrats renege on that, that will definitely put more pressure on the Americans going into a fiscal cliff.
How positive was that jobs read we saw out last week for Obama? Unemployment now below the 8% mark. It's now lower than when he came into office.
Absolutely.
That must have given him a real boost.
To some extent, but two things. You know, when he came to the White House in January, February of 2009, he said that if he did not turn around the economy by election day and reduce unemployment down to 5.6 to 6%, he would be a one-term president. Now, 7.8% is still awfully high. No president since the war has been re-elected when the unemployment rate is 7.4% or higher. So symbolically, you're right. It's the first time the unemployment rate has come down below 8% since 2007. But I think it's still, the job growth is very slow in the United States. And the thing to bear in mind is this is the most sluggish economic recovery since the Great Depression. It's not a good record on which to stand.
The other thing, and we don't have long left, so just quickly, that we know is that the Fed chairman, Ben Bernanke, is likely to be out should Romney get in. He's made that pretty clear. Why is that? Why does he want Ben Bernanke out? Is it those easy money policies that he doesn't like? They don't fit in with the Republican mantra?
What the Republicans are trying to do, most notably Paul Ryan, the running mate, is try to make this election about a debate about the size and scope of the federal government. And they see the Federal Reserve under Bernanke and the US Treasury under Geithner as representing old-style liberal Keynesianism, as pump priming of the economy via government spending and stimulus. Romney and Ryan's position is that tax relief is the best way of creating wealth and creating more incentives to kickstart the economy.
OK, Tom Switzer, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks,
We really
Kate.
appreciate it.